What's going on YouTube? It is your boy Juan Gotti here off the late night with my man Ed Oliver, special guest. We gotta be, my man Ed Oliver has leveled up on me, man. He is the host of the Locked on Wizards podcast, man. That is huge moves, man. As you know, I've been subscribed to you for the longest, man, and now you are almost at 12,000 subscribers. So I want to say shout out to you and thank you for taking the time out your night to join me as we are now 4 days away from our Washington football team facing the Los Angeles Chargers. So shout out to you for coming on. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on, man. It's lit. I can't wait, man. We finally got some football coming, man. So I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped.
Yep. So like I said, man, I appreciate you for coming on and we're just gonna jump straight into things. So I wanna ask you a quick question before we get into the things about Sunday's game. I wanna go back to the 53-man roster. Who's a guy that a lot of us, like a personal favorite of yours, and a lot of guys that we talk about that maybe has flown on the radar on like my end and stuff like that. Who was a guy specifically for you that may have made the roster, or if they didn't make the roster, that you were like, man, that was my guy that I really want to see make the roster? Who was that guy for you?
I like Jimmy Moreland, man. He just got picked up by the Texans. I thought he was a solid corner. I thought he was a good slot corner for us. Next gen stats, he was ranked as the third slot corner, like with percentages allowed or pass completion percentage allowed. He was one of the best slot corners in the league last year. And just that depth. I mean, I like Torrey McTyer and I like Dale Roberts, but Kendall Fuller's going to be going back to slot, so I see why they made the move. Bobby McCain can play slot too, but I just feel like you can never have enough corners. I wish Jimmy the best, and the Eagles, they put a claim in for Jimmy because the Eagles always need corners. They always need somebody back there, and they love picking up former Washington guys. So. But yeah, really just Jimmy. That's probably the only one because when we cut AGG, I wasn't mad we cut AGG, but he's on the practice squad now, so we ended up keeping him. And I was happy when we cut Peyton Barber. I hate to see people lose their jobs, but honestly, I was like, man, we got Jared Patterson, so it's time for Peyton Barber to go. To be honest with you, but that's like that was the only cut that I was like, I really wish we could have kept Jimmy, but it is. I wish him the best, and we'll see what Ben St. Juice can do, man. I heard he's been, we all know Ben St. Juice has been balling, so we'll see what we get out of our corners on Sunday. They got a tough test with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And it's funny because Bradley Roby, they just got him for the Texans from the Saints, and he's going to be out for one game. So maybe Jimmy Moreland gets caught up to the active roster. I'm not sure if he already is. But hey, like you said, I wish him nothing but the best. And it's interesting you brought up Jared Patterson, man. I know we're rooting for him a little bit more because he's from our hometown, man. So him and Chase Young,
Yes,
we
sir.
root
Yes, sir.
for a little bit more. So, I mean, like you said, I don't like to see anybody get their job taken away from them, man. But Jared Patterson provides more to us than a Peyton Barber. Now, I understand Peyton Barber's that guy that you put in the game on 3rd and 1, 2nd and shorts, and he's a guaranteed to pick up the first down. But Jared Patterson was too much to risk putting him out there on waivers. I guarantee you, if you put him out there, he wasn't coming back. So it's interesting that you said that because I'm in the same boat with you with Jimmy Moreland. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's no other surprise cuts or somebody that I thought really had a chance. I was
Yeah.
really happy with the way they put together this roster. I'll be 100% honest with you. So now, fast forward into kicking off into the game, I wrote down a few questions that I wanted to ask about the game on Sunday. But before we get into that, let's talk about a little bit of an injury update for both teams. So we know that the thing with Curtis Samuel, I'm not sure if you made a video on it or not, but I want to hear your thoughts on Curtis Samuel. So he did come back to practice on Monday, and then they had a day off yesterday, and he came back. And before they could get into practice, he ran a couple routes, and then he left practice because he felt uncomfortable and he had some discomfort going on in that groin. So what are your thoughts on Curtis Samuel? Do you think he's going to play week 1? And if he doesn't play week 1, when do you think we should expect to see him?
It's gonna be tough, man. Watching him in that video today, it did not look good at all. He hasn't played since mini camp, so it's been a long time. It's been like 3 months. That's crazy. I was watching your video earlier too. They talked about number 10, Paul Richardson, RG3, AGG last year. I can't. Somebody else wore number 10 too. I feel like and got hurt. But yeah, I mean, we need him, man. You look at the preseason games too. Like you could tell that we were missing something. We need his explosiveness. We need that help. But De'Ami Brown's going to get more snaps. He's going to get more opportunities. He's going to get more targets. So I'm looking for De'Ami. His stock is rising with that happening. But I think honestly, I don't see him playing on Sunday. What I think might end up happening, knock on wood, is that they might put him on injured reserve because now with the new rules, you can be on injured reserve for 3 weeks. You don't have to be on IR for 8 weeks like it was before the pandemic. So that's the best thing about it. He can come back in October. We need him bad though. We need him for this game. We need him for the Giants game because after the Giants game, we play the Bills, and then I can't remember the game after the Bills, but the schedule. I think we play the Falcons, but we got to win these two games, and we need him against the Giants bad. He was supposed to be our go-to guy, or the second guy after Cherry. He was supposed to be the guy that was going to cut up the Giants for us for real. So we need Curtis, man. And B. Mitch had a report too saying that I don't know if you heard about that too, where B. Mitch was saying that he said he talked to some people and he was like, oh, Curtis could have played in the preseason games, and we see Curtis running out there. I'm like, yeah, he does not look like he could go at all. So I think they should sit him for 3 weeks, let him rest up for real. I mean, it's unfortunate, but we don't want to put him out there right now, and he makes the groin injury even worse, and then he's got to get surgery, and then he's going to be out for 8 to 12 weeks. So it's tough, but next man up, De'Ami Brown, Adam Humphries, Cam Sims going to get more snaps, so other guys got to step up. Even Dax Milne, throw him in the mix too. So I hope he gets out there sooner than later, though.
Yeah, and I agree with you on shutting him down. I think letting him rest for 3 weeks. Now, here's my thing. He's been dealing with this for 4 months. He's barely practiced for real, so I don't know. And obviously, it is going to help, but I'm not sure as if those 3 weeks are going to be good for him. And then he comes back. Let's just say, like knock on wood again, that maybe it helps, but then again, on the same trajectory that has been going on for the last 4 months, it's seeming like shutting him down hasn't helped. So does those 3 weeks really help? Yes and no at the same time, because we don't know. We just have to wait and see and let them get out there and running around. But yeah, I do think we need to shut them down for at least the first 3 weeks. And looking at the roster, the next guy that would be up, I know a lot of us want to see De'Ami, but the next guy up that will be behind Curtis Samuel is Cam Sims. And I'm excited about Cam Sims too, especially building off of what he had last year. I think he is going to have come back with another strong year. And of course, we're going to see De'Ami regardless if Curtis Samuel was healthy or not. We're still going to see De'Ami Brown. But who is the guy that you think they could call up in case of putting this guy on IR, that being Curtis Samuel? Do you think they call up AGG, or do you think they go with another position, maybe Danny Johnson for special teams or something? Who is a guy that you think they could possibly call up from the practice squad to fill in that spot if they do put Curtis Samuel on IR?
That's a good question. I think at the wide receiver spot, we're set really because you got Humphreys is still out there, Terry's out there, Cam Sims is out there. I guess at the back end, you could probably call up Dax Mill and put him on the 50, 53 or the 55 for the day and activate him. Trying to think who else defensively. I know they got Daniel Wise on the defensive line. They just picked up another offensive lineman too, but that's a good question. Jeremy Reeves on the practice squad too. So they could call him up AGG off the practice squad. But that's a good question. It would be one of the back end guys. It might be one of the linebackers. I forgot how to pronounce his name. Like Kushnewski or something like that. Ron would probably do like a low key move, bringing somebody random off the practice squad. He always does stuff like that.
Yeah, and I do think maybe they call up Danny Johnson just for his special teams ability, and maybe he can play some corner and they'll just be the depth for us. But I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you myself who would they actually call up, because there's so many guys that we could choose from. And getting on to the Chargers side of things, so this actually caught me by surprise today. I saw it for the first time that they said Austin Eckler, I believe he didn't practice today. He was off to the side field. And that was the first time I saw that. And they said it is a hamstring injury. And if Austin Eckler can't go, that is a huge plus. Of course, I would never like to see anybody hurt or anything, but that is a huge plus. I will take it because he is a threat. He's a guy that can run the ball well, but he's also a guy that is heavy in their passing game, in their passing attack. And we know how good Justin Herbert is, and we're going to get to him a little bit later. But I do think if Austin Eckler is going to be out, that's going to help Washington out a lot. And I'm looking at their roster, their backup running backs. It's Austin Eckler, and the second man up is Justin Jackson, a 6', 200-pound running back. He's 26 years old out of Northwestern, and last year he had 59 attempts for 270 yards and no touchdowns, and he averaged 4.6 yards a carry, which isn't mind-blowing by any means. It's no Austin Eckler. So how do you think with Austin Eckler possibly being out, how do you think that helps Washington and them possibly changing their game plan and focusing more on like a Keenan Allen or Mike Williams?
That's a huge help, man. And I don't want to see anybody. I don't wish ill or injury on anybody, but that would be a huge. You should take a deep breath if Eckler is not playing on Sunday. Just him catching the ball in the backfield. He's another wide receiver for them. And our linebackers matching up against Austin Eckler. That's not a pretty sight with some of them. That one-on-one matchup, but. If he's out, he's got a hamstring injury. Those are nothing to play with, too. Terry McLaurin missed a couple of weeks with a hamstring. I want to see him say in the 2019 season. We've seen guys in the NFL miss a couple of weeks. It depends on the grade because I was looking at some news like this doctor guy, NFL doctor, and it depends on the grade of the hamstring injury. So we don't know what the grade is. I was looking online and Chargers fans were panicking. Fantasy people who had Austin Eckler were panicking. So, and they went through this last year. Austin Eckler, he had a hamstring injury last year. He missed a lot of games. The Chargers had a lot of injuries last year. He was one of the guys that were out. So that would be a huge help for us. And like I said, I'm not wishing injuries. I kind of want everybody to play so we can brag more if we beat them full strength. I've heard Brian Bulaga has a hip flexor. He's been practicing their right tackle. So, he's not 100%. So we got to take advantage of that too. Montez Sweat or Chase Young, whoever's matched up against Brian Bulaga, they got to take advantage of that matchup too. He has a hip flexor, and I want to say he has a hamstring too or something like that. So he's pretty banged up. So I would take a look at that. That's a huge. Everybody's talking about Chase Young and Rashawn Slater, but you can't forget about that Bulaga matchup right now. Bulaga's a good tackle, but last year he had a down year from what I saw on Pro Football Focus, and he just had a lot of injuries. So I'm looking at that matchup too. But if Eckler's out, that's a huge help for the Washington football team. Everybody knows that. But, we'll see what happens they're going to come out with the injury report on Friday. So that's the big day. I think they might as well just say Curtis is going to be out. But they're going to wait. I know Ron's going to wait until Friday to say that Curtis is not going to play. We all know Curtis isn't going to play. But Eckler, I think we're going to be waiting until Friday to get the announcement. Really, it might be a game time decision for Eckler. It's going to be huge for real. It's going to be huge.
Yep, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ron actually saved Curtis into a game time decision to, throw the Chargers off a little bit and make him seem like, oh, Curtis could possibly still be playing, and they be game planning for Curtis still, but the whole time he is playing, and then they throw out Dayami and Cam Sims, a little bit of some guys that they probably were preparing for, but not as much as Curtis and Terry. So I want to jump in straight into some of the notes that I want to ask you about with this game. So I'm not sure how much to look into the Chargers just yet as far as the matchups that we have. But with your short glances, if you have looked at the Chargers, what do you think the Chargers' biggest weakness is, and how should we attack it?
I was looking at their linebacking core. They got some young guys. They're not bad. They got Drew Tranquil. They got coming back off injury. They got Kazir White. They got Kenneth Murray, but they're more run stoppers. You look at Kenneth Murray. He allowed 100 passer rating, a quarterback passer rating. He allowed 100, which is not good at all in coverage, and he averaged like a 90% completion rate. He allowed a 90% completion rate too. So if you can get Logan Thomas in one-on-one matchups over the middle, if you can get Antonio Gibson, because we're supposed to get him in the passing game. We all off-season Scott Turner, all they talked about Antonio Gibson was like, we got to get this guy more involved in the passing game. So you can get those one-on-one matchups with those linebackers in that mismatch. Let's get them in a wheel route. That could be I could see a 30-yard pass there to Antonio Gibson. Jaden McKissick, Some people are sleeping on J.D. McKissic right now. We can get him matched up on one-on-one matchups like you saw last year with Jalen Smith, where Jalen Smith could not keep up with he can't keep with anybody anyway, but he couldn't keep up with J.D. McKissic at all on those third down plays, second, just getting out quick into the flats. And Jerry Tillery, like you said in your video too, he's one of their DTs or defensive ends, and he struggled last year. So that middle part is successful. They gave up 4.5 yards per carry last year, and they were ranked 26th per DVOA Football Outsiders in run defense. So their run defense, they can get ran on. They can get ran on. So we got to get the ball to Gibson quick. J.D. McKissic, Jared Patterson. We got to establish a run game on them. I think they can be ran on for sure. Their pass defense is pretty solid, but they can get ran on. They can get ran on. Their linebackers they definitely get ran on, and I think you can throw on their linebackers too. Their corners are good. Mike Davis is good. He's going to be matched up against Terry. Chris Harris Jr., he's a good slot corner. Asante Samuel Jr., he's a rookie, but you can shove him around a little bit. So if you do a quick screen and block him, Cam Sims, him one-on-one on blocking, you might be able to get them on one of those passes. But I think that middle, that interior of their D-line, I think you can run a little bit on them and get it going. Antonio Gibson, we got to establish the run and get that play action going and fake them out, hit a deep pass to Terry. I can definitely see that happening on Sunday. I can definitely see it.
Yep, and it's interesting that you brought up their linebackers and their cornerbacks, because I was talking with the Chargers Instagram fan page, and I was talking to him about their biggest weakness, and he told me straight up their biggest weakness, in his opinion, is their cornerbacks and their interior defensive line. When you look at their interior defensive line, you already say like Jerry Tillery. I can't forget. I don't know how to pronounce the other guy's name, but it's like a long last name. I don't know how to pronounce it. And then they have Linval Joseph, and Linval Joseph is a guy that was really solid in Minnesota. You can ask some Chargers fans. I know I got some backlash yesterday for some Chargers fans that said Linval Joseph actually had a solid year, but I asked the Chargers fan that I was talking to, and he said that their interior defensive line as a whole had a down year. So, like you said, I do think that we could run on them. Now that pass rush is sneaky good because obviously they have Joey Bosa, but just like Joey Bosa, unlike Joey Bosa, or unlike Chase Young and Montez Sweat, I should say rather, he doesn't have anybody to go up against him or go up with him rather. I know, like I said, I forget his name. I can't say it off the top of my head because I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's supposed to be their other DN. More of the story is Joey Bosa is out there doing it by himself, and we'll get a little bit more up into that later down the line when I talk about their matchups. But more of the story, like you said, they're able to be ran on. So I wouldn't even be surprised if we use a ton of Jared Patterson in this game, more so as, just a pure running back. Obviously, we know JD, he can run the ball, but we more want to use him in the passing game. Antonio Gibson, when he needs a breather, I could see Jared Patterson coming in here, and they can be gashed, man. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of Scott Turner's heavy running games. And how fitting is to kick off the season that it could possibly be a heavy running game, and Peyton Barber isn't on this team anymore. So, like I said, I do think they can be gashed. Now, moving on to my next question, I want to ask you, which one of our rookies are you most excited to see in their first game? Because we have a ton of rookies that is going to be exciting to watch this year. So who is your favorite that you are excited to see? And, man, for the heck of it, you can name multiple if you want
to. All right, I'm gonna shout out a couple people in the chat, man. I got to. Reggie Reg, what's up, man? DMV Sports Zone, what's going on? William Timoni, Molehead, what's up, man? Talking sports with Moose, even though he's a Giants fan. Yeah, that's all the people I see in the chat right now. Tone, what's up? Brian Harden, what's up, man? King Sean White, what's up? What's going on, y'all? Rookies. But one thing I will say about the last point too, Derwin James is coming back, so he will help out their run defense. So that is something to keep an eye on. We can't sleep on him. He was an All-Pro his rookie season, so he's going to help that defense out for sure. But I still think they can get ran on. Rookies, of course, De'Ami Brown. That's the easy one for me. I just like the way he played on account. I like his swag, his confidence, the way he played in the preseason, the catch against the Bengals. That was a great catch. He had a first down catch against the Patriots. He's been torching guys in practice, killing it. going off. I mean, he had 20 yards per catch in North Carolina. He's just a deep ball threat, and he's really good at tracking the football in the air. So I just like his swag and the way he's been killing it in training camp. So I'm excited to see what he can do, especially with Curtis being out. I just feel like he can be a great sidekick to Terry McLaurin. So I want to see what he can do. He's got that speed. Other than him, I want to keep my eye on Jamin Davis. I know a lot of people are kind of down on him right now because he didn't flash in preseason, hasn't really flashed in training camp either. And of course, that pick is always going to go down in history and be compared to. I guess you could. People online or social media are going to group him with these young quarterbacks because everybody was like, "Oh, we should have traded up for Justin Fields," or you look at Mac Jones now. Mac Jones is looking good. He's balling out in camp. He's balling out in preseason. Justin Fields had a good preseason. He had a good training camp. So people now are questioning Ron with should he have traded up? Did he make the right pick with Jamin Davis? And I think it's a little too early. But at the same time, I'm gonna be watching Justin Fields a lot this year. I'm gonna be watching Mac Jones. I'm gonna be watching all these quarterbacks. All these quarterbacks look pretty good, and we could have tried to trade up. It is what it is. But I like the pick with Jamin Davis. I thought it was a good pick. We need help at the linebacker position. We still need help at linebacker. But we'll be looking at Jamin Davis. Ben St. Juice is an easy one too. The way he played in camp, the way he balled out, the way he disrespected Terry McLaurin, walking over him, doing the Allen Iverson step over him in practice. And he looked good in camp. He looked good in preseason. And I guess a low-key guy would be, I guess, John Bates. I want to see what he does at tight end. He's got good hands. I thought he was a solid pick. Some people wanted, what's the tight end out of Miami? I forgot his name now. Oh, Brevin Jordan.
Brevin Jordan.
I still think, yeah, Brevin Jordan. What's his name? I think John Bates is still a good pick. Good blocker, solid blocker. And he had a good preseason too. He had a couple nice catches too. So, those and Sam Cobb. I'm basically naming every rookie that we just drafted. But Sam Cosmi, he's got a tough test on Sunday. Joey Bosa, he's going to be going up against a lot of good DEs this year. And then we play the Broncos with Von Miller. We play a lot of good DEs this year. So he's going to get tested for sure. So I want to see. And he got tested in practice with Montez and Chase Young, and they was bullying this man at first. And then after a couple practices, he got better and was blocking really well. So I want to see how he does this year. It's going to be interesting to see all these rookies. I like all the draft picks we made. Derek Force, he probably won't get a lot of playing time, but I like all the picks. Even Dax Milne, Shaka Toney, William Bradley. I want to see all these guys ball out. I really do. I want to see if Dax Milne can get a couple snaps and catches and punt returner too. So, but I want to see Diami, man. Diami's the star out of the bunch. I think he's the box office star out of all the guys that we got.
Yep, and as you know, we share the same favorite draft pick from this past year's draft. It's De'Ami Brown without a doubt. I love what Jamin Davis brings as far as an upside standpoint, but this guy has been compared to Terry McLaurin, and he just has that Terry McLaurin feel from him, man. So I really love De'Ami Brown, and like you said, you pretty much named everyone because that's how our class went. Everyone that we drafted, believe it or not, at some point is going to contribute, whether it's the De'Ami Brown and Jamin Davis and Sam Cosmi that's going to start immediately, or as if it's the Dax Milne who is going to eventually, contribute at some point, or if it's Derek Forrest who's going to, contribute at some point on the special teams. Everybody that we drafted this year is going to contribute. So the two people that I want to talk about that I want to switch it up a little bit, and you already said Ben St. Juice, but that's my first guy that I want to see. Ben St. Juice is a guy that I'm most excited to see more than Jamin Davis and more than my favorite draft pick out of the whole class, De'Ami Brown, is because Ben St. Juice, man, since stepping foot in Washington, he's been shutting down our wide receivers. So I want to see how he fares against Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Keenan Allen is a really good underrated wide receiver, man. It's disrespectful. It's almost crime how underrated Keenan Allen is. Now, I'm more than certain William Jackson is going to shadow Keenan Allen, but I want to see how Ben St. Juice fares against him on his few matchups, because he most likely is going to be on Mike Williams for majority of the game. But back to practice rather. remember a couple months ago, was it the start of it was either the start of training camp or the end of mini camp and OTAs and whatnot, where he stepped over Terry McLaurin. And like I said in my video, that was the first
Mm.
time I ever seen Terry McLaurin get completely shut down. And I know a lot of people are gonna say you can go back to 2019. Jay Alexander kind of shut him down too, but at the same time, he still scored a touchdown at the end of the game. Pittsburgh, they really shut him down, but that wasn't just a one-man show that shut him down. Their whole defense literally was checking this man. He had three people on him for the entire game. So that was the first time I really, really saw somebody get shut down, Terry McLaurin. Then you fast forward to preseason versus the Bengals. Ben St. Juice was locking Jamar Chase. He had him scared to catch the ball. And then in the New England game, he also had a PBU. And Ben St. Juice was just exciting to watch, man. And he is my guy that I want to see this Sunday because I feel like, man, we have another young stud on our hands. And we know Kendall Fuller is going to go back to his home where he made his money at in the slot. And our defense, our cornerbacks rather, were scary with Jimmy Moreland. I liked our trio with William Jackson and Kendall Fuller on the outside and Jimmy Moore in the slot. But now that we have Ben St. Juice on the outside and William Jackson and Kendall Fuller in the slot, that is way, way better. So I am so excited to see what Ben St. Juice can do against Mike Williams because, Mike Williams is 6'5", 6'4", around their range, 6'3", around that range, and he's really tall. And Ben St. Juice is the perfect matchup with him because, Ben St. Juice is more on the tall, lanky side of things as a cornerback, and he can use his length to, break up passes and whatnot. But the next guy that I want to talk about that is going to fly under the radar because it's a position that doesn't really get talked about, long snapper Cameron Cheeseman, because I know Dustin Hopkins had not the best of preseasons, and I was going to try to find some way to give him some slack and try to maybe blame Trustway or blame Cameron Cheeseman, but Cameron Cheeseman really didn't do anything wrong on those missed field goals. Dustin Hopkins just blatantly missed the field goals. Now, he did at the open practice August 6th at FedEx Field. He did have one play where he had a terrible snap. So I do want to see what Cameron Cheeseman looks like this Sunday because we know we had Nick Sumber rather, for 10 plus years. So we never had to worry about any botched snaps or anything. So I want to see how the rookie from Michigan fares out in his first regular season game. So those are our rookies that we are excited to see. I want to go on to the next question. What's one thing that scares you about the Chargers this Sunday? And I know you can probably name off about 5 things that scares you. And if you want to go ahead and do that, name off a couple you can. But out of the couple that you have in your head, what is the number one thing that scares you about the Los Angeles Chargers this weekend?
Yeah, there's a good amount, but yeah, you got some donations, man. You got Fat American, you got Landry Balvin. Shout out to Landry Balvin. Shout out to Fat American. They come on my channel too. John McDowell does too. So
Yeah, for
give it up
some
for
reason it wasn't popping up. There it goes now, but for some reason it wasn't popping up. Shout out to my man Fat American with the donation. He says Chase reminds me a lot of Sean T, same caliber in my opinion. Now, I'm not going to give my opinion on that second part just because I wasn't around, so I would be a fool to give my opinion on that. I mean, of course, I was alive during Sean Taylor, but I wasn't watching Sean Taylor, so I would be a fool to give my opinion to compare Chase to Sean Taylor. So I'm going to leave that up to my man Ed to handle that because he obviously saw some Sean Taylor before his untimely passing. So what do you think about that comparison? Once again, shout out to my man Fat American with that donation. Thank you so much, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, shout out Fat American, man. He's a funny guy. But yeah, I can see where you see shades, where you see the potential. The scoop and score look very similar. He's wearing the all whites against the Niners when Sean Taylor we was wearing the all whites against the Eagles, and then he dives into the end zone for the touchdown. Chase should have did the same thing against the Niners, but he did his own thing. It's all good. But yeah, I do see the potential. I see the potential, but he's not there yet. Of course, he's a rookie, so he's got a little ways to go to be in the same comparison of that same room as Sean Taylor. All the things that Sean T did, he was the best safety that we've seen in the last 20 something years for the Washington Redskins at the time. So just his energy too, Sean Taylor's leadership too, on and off the field for the Washington Redskins at that time, the way he dominated on the field and was a leader in the locker room. Him, Clinton Porter, Santana Moss, we had that dynamic trio out of Miami University. So he has potential to dominate just like Sean Taylor did for sure. So I can see it, when Sean Taylor roughed up that punter, that hit stick, that will always go down in history. So, and the way Sean Taylor used to scare T.O. coming across the middle, Chad Ochocinco, Randy Moss, like them boys was scared. You're talking about Hall of Fame receivers coming across the middle, scared, alligating arm in the ball like CeeDee Lamb last year with DeShazer Everett, scared to catch the football. So Chase Young, he can instill that fear in left tackles, right tackles, and the quarterbacks. So Chase Young, he has the potential to put that fear in other teams, just like Sean Taylor did. So he's got a couple years to go, but I think this year I think he will dominate. I got him getting 9.5 sacks around that. I don't have him getting double digit just yet, but I got him getting 9.5 sacks this year.
Yeah, and same with me, man. I have Montez Sweat possibly leading the team in sacks. I don't have Chase going double digits just yet, but I do have him taking that second lead. Man, it's funny that we mentioned Sean Taylor here because I could just only imagine. Although I've never really experienced Sean Taylor, obviously I saw the highlights in the interviews. I could just imagine what he'll probably think about this whole name change, man. He'll probably be having some funny interviews out right now talking about the name change. He'll probably be the front row leader to possibly save the Washington Redskins name. But, man, thank you so much, Fat American, for the donation. It means a lot. Thank you once again. Landry with the donation. Shout out to my man Landry B for the donation. He says, y'all think Sammys will see the field on Sunday? So the thing with Sammy's Reyes is I possibly could see him maybe getting on some special teams formations or some goal line formations. But other than that, if we relatively stay healthy, knock on wood, with Logan Thomas and John Bates, I don't see him seeing the field much, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does see the field. So shout out to my man Landry B for the donation. What do you think about Sammy's Reyes possibly seeing the field this Sunday?
I can see him get on. Ricky Seals-Jones is still on the roster. I think Ricky Seals-Jones is more polished. He's played the game forever since he was high school. Sammy's just started playing football. So like you said, I think the packages that he would really get in is the goal line, max protect, 2 tight end sets, looks like that. But Sammy's I like Sammy's. He put in the work ethic. He's staying after practice, working on the guns, but he scares me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Them bobble double catches, man. It scared me a little bit. But the only way he's gonna get better is by playing. So that's the only way he can get better. He's not gonna get better by just watching on the sideline, in my opinion. He's got to get out there and play. And there were some film breakdowns on him where you could definitely still see him struggling, even with blocking and learning the plays. Ron did say that he was the most physical blocker. I'm not surprised. I mean, the guy is strong as an ox. I mean, you saw his combine, what this guy can do, and the guy is ripped, like a Marvel character or something like that. So, but yeah, Sammy's I'm gonna say he gets like a couple of snaps. I'm not gonna say anything over 10. I think Ricky Seals-Jones is gonna be used more. I think, and I heard like I talked about before with Kenneth Murray and their linebackers, they struggled against tight ends last year. So I think we need a tight end that can go out there and catch the football on Sunday. But we do need to run the ball. But I think Ricky Seals-Jones, he's known as a catching tight end, and I think he's gonna get more snaps on Sunday. Ricky Seals-Jones played wide receiver in college too, so I see Ricky getting more of the snaps, and John Bates is gonna get a lot of snaps too.
Yep, and I agree with that too. Now, my boy Sammy's did bobble the catches in New England, but he did come back, and I believe, was it the final rave? Yeah, because he didn't play in Cincinnati, so it had to be the season finale, or not the season finale, but the preseason finale, where he made a clean catch. So the upside for Sammy's Reyes is there. I think maybe in 2 to 3 years he could be ready to really help out our roster and our team. So we gotta keep Sammy's Reyes around. Thank you, Landry B, for the donation once again. It means a lot. Shout out to my man, John. I feel like I always say his name wrong, but he never's corrected me, so I guess I'm saying it right. But I call my man John McDowell with the $10 donation. This guy is always supporting every time I go live. So shout out to my man JMD. I'm gonna call you JMD, man. Let me know how you feel about that. He says we've have a problem putting points on the board. Do you guys see a high scoring game or will it be a low scoring affair? Last checked, the over under was 44.5. Thinking about it, I could see it being a high scoring affair because of the two quarterbacks that's playing. We know Ryan Fitzpatrick is a gunslinger, and he's going to put up some points on the board. However, we know he's going to turn over the ball too. And with Justin Herbert, man, the dude is so good already. It's scary how good this guy is already, man. He's going to put up some points on the board too. He's going to carve us up sometime. And I know our defense is so good, but we got to face the fact he's going to carve us up sometime. It happens. So I could see it being a high-scoring affair. However, I don't think it is just because it's the first game of the season. As Ed already said in the beginning of the show, they were rusty. They really didn't play their guys that much, if not at all, with Justin Herbert and Kane Allen and stuff like that. So they didn't really play their guys in the preseason at all. So I don't think that it's going to be like that. But trust me, I wouldn't be surprised if the score does get high. I don't know if it's going to go into the 40s, like I saw what somebody said in the chat. I don't think it's going to go that high, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's mid-30s. So thank you once again, JMD, for the donation. What do you think about that, Ed?
I think it's going to be under 44.5. So if you put that bet in, I would bet under. Both offenses might come out there rusty. Now, Justin Herbert, yeah, he can throw the ball downfield. He can definitely sling the football. But yeah, you do have to take into account that they did not play a preseason game at all, and I don't want to put too much stock in that either because last year with the pandemic we didn't have any preseason games. Some teams came out there with scoring 40 points, like it was high scoring affairs across the board. But I just think both teams are going to come out a little rusty and slow. I feel like, especially us not having Curtis Samuel, the way we looked in preseason, Fitz overthrowing Humphreys, we just looked a little off. So I think I feel like this game is going to be a little struggle in the first half, and I think the second half, the offenses will open up. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be over 44.5. I would say I think it would be around in the 17 to 20 range, 23-20. That's what I'm looking at. So 23 plus 20 is 43. So that's right under the 44.5. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't think any team's going to get in the 30s. Somebody commented about an opening drive. Yeah, we needed to score on our opening drives. We were terrible last year. We didn't score on an opening drive, not even a field goal until the last game of the year against the Eagles, where they play like third string and second string guys. We were terrible on opening drives. A lot of that is on Scott Turner too, and his play calling and decision making. A lot of that was on bad quarterback play too. But I don't see either offense going over 25, 30 points, to be honest with you.
Yeah, same here. Before I get to the next donation, shout out to my man Fat American again. I want to shout out some people in the chat. Shout out to John Parton. Shout out to Mohead. Shout out to my man Reggie Ray. Shout out to Mikey Bombers. Shout out to T-Ho, my man. And that's pretty much it that I see as of right now. So shout out to my man Fat American again. Thank you so much, my man. It means a lot. He says ST Sean Taylor and Chase got the same killer mentality. Now, obviously, like I said, I wasn't around to see Sean Taylor, but I do know that much about Sean Taylor and Chase Young. Would you want to add anything about that, Ed?
Oh, once again, thank you again for donating to my man Juan's channel, Fat America. Yeah, I think they do have that same killer mentality. You see the look on the sidelines, man. They play in a similar fashion where they're just going out there and ready to take somebody out, man. That's what they're trying to do. Off the jump, off the rip, Chase Young got after Cam Newton. So that's what we need to see him do against Justin Herbert. And that left tackle for the Patriots, I forgot his name. He's no slouch either. Like he's a good left tackle for the Patriots, and Chase Young just went right through that guy and was able to get to Cam Newton. So yeah, man, Chase Young's got that dog in him.
Yep, definitely. And shout out to my man Skins Fan all day. He says, "What's up, Juan? What's up, Ed? What's up, everybody in the chat?" Shout out to
My
my
God,
man
what's up,
Skins
man?
Fan all day. Thank you for coming through. Now I want to double back to the question before I started reading the donations. Thank you so much again for all the donations, man. It means a lot. So, with one thing that scares me about the Los Angeles Chargers, I'm gonna actually say two things, and it's the two main things. I mean, it's obvious. Justin Herbert scares me a lot. I know how good our defense is, man, but that guy was so good last year. He broke some rookie records too. So the guy he scares me, man. He can possibly carve us up. And they got Jared Cook, who's old, man. He's a fossil, but he's still a good red zone threat. They have Keenan Allen, who I already said is criminally underrated, and they have Mike Williams. So they have a nice, solid offense, and Justin Herbert is really good. And the second thing that really scares me is Joey Bosa. And the thing that scares me the most about Joey Bosa is not only is he so good, but he's going to be in Sam Cosmi, who I think is going to be really good for us, but it's his first game. He's going up against one of the pass rushers in the league. And overall, Sam Cosmi could just probably be nervous, and that happens. So those are my two biggest scares for us against the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm not sure if you already said yours before I started reading donations. Did you? Because I think you did, right?
Yeah, I mean, my concerns are, basically the same as you. I mean, Justin Herbert is a good quarterback. He could have a sophomore slump, but he's a good quarterback. Their offensive line got better. Him with some protection back there. If Austin Eckler is able to play, that's a big threat too. He's a good running back coming out the backfield. We know our linebackers have struggled against shifty running backs, shifty and tight ends. Jared Cook is a good tight end. He's old, but he still had a good year last year with Drew Brees and Taysom Hill and Jameis. Like he was a good tight end. He's a drop off from Hunter Henry, but he's a good tight end. They got Donald Parham, another tight end. He used to play for the Washington football team on the preseason roster or practice squad. He's 6'8". He's a big guy. But Derwin James, we got to watch out for Derwin James. Joey Bosa's legit, man. Him against Sam Cosmi, him against Charles Leno. This will be Charles Leno's first time with the football team. We got a couple of new linemen on the roster. We got Eric Flowers back. So this offensive line has some moving parts. Eric Flowers just came back. The only two guys who started last year on the offensive line is Brandon Sheriff and Chase Rouye. But you look at the Chargers offensive line too, they have four new starters too. So they got a gel and mesh too, and they haven't played in preseason. So that's going to be hard for their offensive line too if you think about it. Rashawn Slater's a rookie, and they brought in Corey Lindsley, the center. So all those guys got a gel too. So it's going to be tough for them for their offensive line. But my concern, yeah, Keenan Allen's legit, man. It's going to be a tough test for William Jack. And William Jack is shadowing Keenan Allen the whole game. It's going to be fun to watch. Keenan Allen is a top 10 wide receiver. Might be top 8, top 7. Like, he's legit. It's going to be a fun matchup if they do go one-on-one. Mike Williams is legit, too. So, I mean, there's so many names to throw out there. The Chargers got a good team. Brandon Staley, a new coach. He was a good coach with the Rams, good defensive coordinator. The Rams were the number 1 defense in the NFL. So, from a coaching standpoint too, and they got a good team. They're a good up and coming team. So there's definitely some concerns to have, and I think Ron Rivera is going to have the guys ready. But yeah, Justin Herbert, man, he's a good quarterback. He's legit, and he can run too. Can't sleep on his running ability. So we kind of struggled last year with running quarterbacks too. In that first half of the season, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, we struggled against guys like that. Justin Herbert's not as fast as those guys, but Justin Herbert can run, man. He can tuck it and run. So I would say watch out for that too.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said, man, especially with Justin Herbert's running ability and us struggling with running quarterbacks to start off the season. So I do agree with that. So I'm going to let you handle this, man. My man Sav says, Wizards suck. Go Raptors. Also go Skins. I'm going to let my man Ed Oliver handle this comment right here, man. Put some respect on my man's name. He's not just a regular Wizards fan anymore. He is the host of the Locked On Washington Wizards podcast. So he's going to have a lot to say. Hey, Sav, I feel bad for you, man. Go ahead and handle that, Ed, man. A Raptors fan, man. Come on.
Yeah. Appreciate the plug, Juan. Appreciate the plug, man. So yeah, you guys make sure you guys subscribe to Locked On Wizards, man. I just did a mailbag and a bold predictions podcast. So I'm always asking for people to chime in, man. Y'all can leave a review on iTunes too. Make sure you guys subscribe to Locked On Wizards. But yeah, Sad. Hey, man. Remember when the Wizards we swept y'all? back in the day with the Raptors. We beat y'all in your house, and we beat y'all this last year too. So it's all good. You guys are in rebuild mode. You know, you guys Kyle Lowry's going, so you guys are going downhill right now. You guys are going downhill, but you know, go Skins, go football team. You know, Raptors. For some reason, Raptors fans they hate the Wizards for some reason. We got a little beef going on right now. I think they're still salty that we swept them with John Wall and Paul Pierce and Bradley Beal back in Toronto.
Yeah, yeah. So shout out to Sav once again. I have just a couple more notes because I know Ed has to get going. So to finish off, my notes here, I want to first go with my three matchups, and then I want to ask you what matchups are you most excited for. But the first matchup that I want to talk about is the obvious Chase Young versus Rashawn Slater. Everybody knows Rashawn Slater got the better of Chase Young in their college matchup, Ohio State versus Northwestern. That's all we've been heard about since Rashawn Slater has got drafted. Not Rashawn Slater is a phenomenal right tackle coming out of Northwestern, or left tackle rather, coming out of Northwestern. And he's a guy that could play both sides. He's a guy that I think is going to be really good. But outside of that Chase Young game, that's really what everybody likes to talk about. The guy had so many other good games, but obviously because Chase Young is the second overall pick, that's the one they want to light on the most. And he owned Chase Young. I did a film breakdown on that game, and it's 2 years ago. Chase Young is so different, and Rashawn Slater is too. But he did own Chase Young in that game, and I like to think it's going to be a different story this game, because now they're in the pros. Chase Young is a reigning defending rookie of the year, and he has 1 year under his belt. Rashawn Slater is going to be his first game. Chase Young is a grown man now. He's lifting them weights, man. Dude is ripped. Chase Young is just that dog, man. He doesn't forget things. I'm pretty sure this is the first thing that's on his mind every time he walk into that building, is he got to get back on Rashawn Slater. So what do you think about that matchup? How do you see it going down? Do you see Chase Young getting his revenge? Do you see Rashawn Slater owning Chase Young? Because, even though Chase Young is going to be one of the best pass rushers in all of football for the next decade, every premier pass rusher has that one kryptonite that they can just never get off their back. So do you think Rashawn Slater is going to be that guy for him, or do you think Chase Young is going to get his get back this Sunday versus Rashawn Slater?
Oh yeah, he's definitely circled this game on the schedule for sure. So he's looking to get his revenge on Rashawn Slater. Chase Young, he's added some more moves to his pass rushing skills, to his repertoire. He came firing out the gate in that preseason game against the Patriots, so he's looking to build on that. And this will show his dominance, man, getting back there to Justin Herbert and taking advantage of that matchup. I think there's going to be some times where Montez Sweat is going to be matched up against Rashawn Slater too. So I wouldn't sleep on that matchup too. But it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch. This is one where Chase Young. This is going to be a statement game for him, because people run back 20 years ago when Andrew Thomas was blocking Chase Young in high school. Like, fans get so pressed and so hyped up for any time somebody stops Chase Young just for a little bit. So Chase Young, he's got a target on his back. Every left tackle is like, he's the measuring stick. They're like, oh, if I stop Chase Young, then I'm one of the best left tackles in the game. So Chase Young knows that. He's got a big spotlight on him being Defensive Rookie of the Year. So he's got to teach Rashawn a lesson. This is the NFL. This ain't college. So I think I got Chase Young definitely winning this matchup.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that because, like you said, man, they would dig up anything from 50 years ago, from Chase Young as a little kid and Andrew Thomas as a little kid, and they clashing, and he's getting the better of them. But more seriously, they faced off in high school, and Giants fans, that's all we heard about last year, of Andrew Thomas owning him in high school. But then Andrew Thomas was running away from Chase Young when they matched up. So I do think Chase Young is going to get the better of Rashawn Slater, and that's just what happens when you're the dog, man. Everybody is going to be coming for you because you that guy, man, and he knows that. So I do think Chase Young is going to get the better of Rashawn Slater. Shout out to Mohead. He says Slater sat out last season. So moving on to my second matchup, William Jackson versus Keenan Allen. This is probably going to be the best matchup of the day because these are two guys that are severely underrated but really good at their specific position groups. So I do think Keenan Allen's going to get the better of William Jackson in this matchup just because, like I said, Keenan Allen is criminally underrated, and I'm not biased at all. I'll be 100% with you guys. You know that. I do think Keenan Allen gets the better of William Jackson in this match. Now, I don't think he's just going to, obliterate William Jackson, but I do think the more times they match up, I do have Keenan Allen making more plays on William Jackson than William Jackson making plays on Keenan Allen. And, of course, I want to be wrong about that, but I do have Keenan Allen getting the better of William Jackson in this matchup. And that's how I see it going. How do you see this matchup going? Do you think different from me? Do you think William Jackson is going to own Keenan Allen? So how do you see this matchup between Keenan Allen and William Jackson playing out this Sunday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is my last one. I gotta head out, but it's gonna be a tough one, man. Like you said, Keenan Allen, he's the real deal. He's a dog, and William Jackson, we haven't heard the best out of him from camp. He's still learning the defense. He was more of a man-to-man, shutdown, shadowing type corner. Where we play a lot of zone here with Jack Del Rio for last year. We're trying to switch it up. We bought Ben St. Juice, who's more of a man corner. We want Kendall Fuller playing man in the slot position. So it's going to be an adjustment. And like I said before, we just heard reports of, Terry McLaurin was torching Will Jack in camp, and Terry McLaurin torches everybody. But, Will Jack talked about it too. He's still getting acclimated to the defense and getting used to it. So I do think it's going to take a little bit of time. I don't think he'll get torched, but Keenan Allen's going to get his. I kind of got a feeling Keenan Allen's going to get about 60 to 70 yards, which is not wow you type numbers, not 100 yards, but 70 yards is a solid game depending on how many catches. If he gets like 5 for 70, that's a solid game, and it depends if it's on Will Jackson or somebody else because he's gonna be put in motion. So we'll see from that first snap if they put Keenan Allen in motion and we see Will Jack just shadowing. That's what I want to see. I want him to be physical. I want him to be put in spots where he can be successful because we saw with Josh Norman, another high-priced corner that we bought in, we didn't really play to his strengths, and then years went on and Josh Norman just got slower and slower. So I don't want to compare Will Jack to Josh Norman. I don't, knock on wood, I don't want to put that bad energy on him the way Josh Norman finished up in DC. So we'll see how Will Jack does. But I think Keenan Allen, he's going to get his. That's just how good of a player he is. He's going to get a couple catches.
Yep. So like my man Ed said, that was his last question here. I want to put this up on the screen for my man Tone Ho. I'm pretty sure Ed is going to come out with a video about this, but he wanted to ask you about that. So most likely he's going to come out with a video on his keys to victory versus the Chargers. So thank you so much, my man Ed Oliver, for coming on tonight. Means a lot. My man's on the road to 12,000 subscribers. So if you guys haven't subscribed to Ed Oliver, what are you doing, man? Go ahead and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Not only do you need to subscribe to his YouTube channel for all Washington sports, Wizards, and the Washington football team, mainly, you need to go over there on any podcasting platforms, whether you're on Apple or Android. Go download the Locked On Wizards podcast hosted by my man Ed Oliver, doing a great job over there. I'm subscribed to the podcast. That's, of course, man. When I first seen you announce it, man, I had to go over there and subscribe instantly. So make sure you guys go over there and subscribe to Ed Oliver's YouTube channel and the Locked On Washington Wizards podcast. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to close out the show once Ed leaves, but thank you so much for coming on. Ed means a lot. And go Washington, man, and hopefully we get this dub Sunday.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Yep. All right, Ed, man. Have a good day. Or good night, rather.
Peace. All right,
all right,
y'all.
peace,
Have a football team.
Yep. All righty. So that was my man, Ed Oliver. I'm going to let the screen clear out. It's going to get back to shape once my man Ed leaves the chat here. I'm going to close out the show. We're going to, go to an hour, probably 10 more minutes before we get out of here. I appreciate once again my man Ed Oliver for coming on to the show. It means a lot. So to close out the show, I want to go over my last matchup, and that's Terry McLaurin versus Michael Davis. Michael Davis is a cornerback for the Chargers who had a really good year last year for the Los Angeles Chargers, and he's going to be most likely shadowing Terry McLaurin this Sunday. And with that matchup, I think Terry McLaurin is going to win that. I already said I think Chase Young is going to win his matchup versus Rashawn Slater. I did give the edge to the Los Angeles Chargers with Keenan Allen versus William Jackson. Like I said, I don't think William Jackson is going to kill, I don't think Keenan Allen's going to kill William Jackson, but I do think he's going to get the better of William Jackson. But here, I'm going to take our wide receiver over the Los Angeles Chargers cornerback just because Terry McLaurin is one of the young stars at the wide receiver position who's on the up and coming, man, and he's going to be a top 5 receiver one day in this league. And I do think he is going to be really good this season. He's going to have another 1,000-yard season. That is my prediction for this year for Terry McLaurin. So I do think he is going to have a good game, and I do think he's going to get the better of their number one corner or their best corner because they have Chris Harris, they have Sante Samuel Jr., they have Mike Davis, but their best corner as of right now, because we know Chris Harris has the overall better, career, obviously, but for the better as of late, it's been Mike Davis. So I do think Terry McLaurin gets the better of him this Sunday. So shout out to my man, Terry McLaurin. So to close out the show, I want to talk about tomorrow's game as we get to see the Dallas Cowgirls take the field. Dallas Cowboys, okay, I'll just say Cowboys for probably some of them Cowboys fans that's up in here. Cowboys take the field versus the Tampa Bay, as some people may call them, but Tampa Bay Buccaneers tomorrow at 8 p.m. to kick off the 2021 NFL season. I do have the Dallas Cowboys losing this game. I just think Tampa Bay is just too much for them. And obviously, I'm going to root against the Cowboys every chance I get because those are our most hated rivals. Although, as of late, it's been the New York Giants for me because we just can't beat those guys for whatever reason it is. But I do think the Dallas Cowboys loses this game, and because it can get ugly. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe to start off the game, they'll keep it close. But at some point, I do think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to climb away with this game. Tom Brady's just too much for that defense. That defense is putrid. They did upgrade it by getting Micah Parsons. Trayvon Diggs is going to be in his second year. Jalen Smith, who has been bad as of late, but he could possibly turn around. I do think that defense did get upgraded, and they had Dan Quinn come over from Atlanta as a defensive coordinator. So I do think that defense did get some upgrading, but however, I do think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is going to beat the Dallas Cowboys, and they're going to start the season 0-1. So before we get out of here, any last questions and comments that you guys have for me as we are getting closer and closer to Sunday's game versus the Los Angeles Chargers? As you guys know, I will be streaming that game. Of course, I stream every single game. Only game I didn't stream was last week's game versus the Baltimore Ravens. I'm glad I didn't stream that game because it was boring. But yeah, man. So any last questions and comments that you guys have for me before I close out the show? And if you guys don't have any last comments or questions, then I could have, ended early and ended now. If you guys don't have any last comments or questions, Tone or T-Ho rather, as you like for us to call you, you can follow the podcast via Spotify. I believe so. It's on Spotify. I'm not sure if it's on Spotify. I was listening on Apple Podcasts. I'll ask Ed, and he'll let you know if it is on Spotify. I'm unsure. You could look it up, though. I'm pretty sure it's the same name on there that it is on Apple Podcasts. Just look up Locked On Washington Wizards Podcast, and I'm pretty sure it'll pop up if it is on Spotify. Shout out to Nello here. Nello says, Sunday break the Chargers. Yeah, so 7 p.m. on the West Coast, California. Indeed, Big D going to be Little D against Tampa Bay. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. I do think the Dallas Cowboys lose that game. T.O. says, Juan, are you live streaming? Yeah, I'm live streaming every Sunday. You know, I do that every year, man. We did that all last year for every single game. Nothing is going to change here. So I'm going to be streaming the game on Sunday. He says, I'm very sure it's on Spotify. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is too, but you can always look it up. And if it's not, then I know it's on Apple Podcasts and whatnot. Super Chef said, I'm psyched to see y'all together. Yeah, my man Ed Oliver for coming through, man. That's the big man over there, man. My dude is closing in on 12K subscribers, and he is the host of Locked On Washington Wizards podcast. So shout out to Ed for taking this time out of his night to get on the stream with me. And shout out to my man, Ali Frazier. He says, if Curtis is not healthy, IFK. Yeah, man. If Curtis is not healthy at all, you know what I'm saying? Curtis isn't healthy. It's no more if he isn't healthy or if he is healthy. He's not healthy. Let's just put it out there. Let's call a spade a spade. It's unfortunate because I wanted to see Curtis Samuel play to start off the season. At some point, he's going to make his debut in Washington jersey, but it may be for may not be for the first couple weeks of the season. And I'm thinking he may not see his debut to probably like midpoint of the season. That's how serious this growing injury is, man. He sustained this growing injury in OTAs and mini camp, and he's still not 100% healthy. So I don't know if we'll see this guy until to the near future. He may be midway season or we might not see this guy to the midway point of the season, if that. So I really hope I'm wrong, though, because I really want to see Curtis Samuel play, but it's not looking like that's going to happen for Sunday. So, yeah, man, there you have it. That is my live stream with my man, Ed Oliver. Once again, shout out to my man, Ed Oliver, for coming on the stream. You can follow his YouTube channel, subscribe to it at Ed Oliver. My man's almost at 12K. You can also follow him and subscribe to his Locked On Wizards podcast on Apple, on Google Podcasts, or whatever the Google Play Store is over there on Android. Shout out to my man Ed for coming on. Shout out to everyone that came through the stream. Shout out to everyone that donated. John McDowell, Fat American, my man. Let me see who else. I think I could scroll up here to tell you guys. Shout out to my man, Skins Fan All Day, for coming through. And shout out to my man, Landry B, for donating to the channel. It means a lot. Thank you guys so much. And see you guys on Sunday. Of course, I have a video up, but the next time you'll see me live is Sunday for the game. I hope to see all you guys there. Thank you for the support. Once again, shout out to my man, Ed. I'm out. Peace.